Greetings agents, this is Private Boulders, the mediocre gamer, and this is the Division 2. Thank you for checking my content out. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch it. If you find it helpful or useful, please consider liking and or subscribing so I can help grow my channel. I hope you're having a great day today. What we are covering off today is another new player build. It's another skill build. And this time it is what is commonly referred to as a fire eclipse build. So this is, you can see I'm using this in the footage in the background there. Basically, it's a way of getting enemies nice and toasty, and then getting that fire to spread to other enemies. So it's great solo. It's great in a team situation as well. It does apply the fire status or the burn status effect, and while enemies are burning, they are not shooting at you, they're not moving, and it does pop them up out of cover, so it makes a good kind of build. It's a semi kind of crowd control build. It's not a 100% dedicated crowd control build, but while they are burning, they're not shooting at you and they're not moving. So if you're playing in a team, it does then give your teammates the opportunity to basically take them down, take these burning enemies down while they're kind of being affected by this status, this kind of burn status effect. So it does use the gear set called ECLIPSE protocol. You will need a minimum of 4 pieces for that, and that's what I'm going to talk about. So before we start, let's go to the specialization choices. So there are 2 here that you can choose from. If you are playing this solo, then I would suggest you go with the firewall build. Sorry, the firewall specification, for 2 reasons. One is the enriched magnesium formula, which gives a plus 20% burn duration. So those enemies that you affect with the burn status effect, they're going to burn for a little bit longer. And the second one is the extracellular matrix mesh. So your armor kit recovers 200% armor and 200% health over 10 seconds. So that is quite handy if you're playing this solo. And if you need to apply yourself with a armor kit, you get that extra armor over 10 seconds. So that's the firewall if you're running solo. With the firewall, you also do get the flamethrower specialized weapon, which also comes in handy as well. If you're running in a group, then you may wish to swap out to survivalist. And here's a couple of reasons why. You get distributed repair. So armor kits now repair over 5 seconds instead of instantly, but also apply to group members within 20 meters. So if your group members are taking a bit of damage, you can apply the armor kit to yourself and also to them. The other one is a survivalist tactical link. So group members get 10% bonus damage to targets with status effects. So this plays perfectly into the fire eclipse build. You've set some opponents on fire. They've got the burn status effect, so anyone in your group gets a 10% bonus damage to those targets that are affected by that, which is pretty good. And then lastly, with the survivalist, you get the incendiary grenade, which applies burn to targets within the radius. So that's also can come in handy. You throw the grenade, and it sets the targets within that radius on fire. Once again, that will apply the burn status effect. We'll pop them up out of cover. If they're in cover, it will stop them from moving, allowing your teammates to then shoot at them and take them down, and they because they're burning, they also get that 10% bonus damage. So they're the two specializations that I would recommend you choose. Fire, the firewall if you're solo, survivalist if you're running in a group. That's just my recommendation. That's not the only recommendation, or it's not maybe you have something else you would rather run, but they're probably the two common ones to run while you're running a fire eclipse. Okay. So if we have a look at the build now, as I mentioned, you do want to run 4 pieces of Eclipse Protocol. And this is a fairly easy set to farm, either from Countdown or a mission or a zone that has this as targeted loot. So if we just have a look at what Eclipse Protocol provides to us, 2 pieces, you're getting plus 15% status effects. So as the burn that you apply is a status effect, that extra 15% feeds directly into that. 3 pieces gives us plus 15% skill haste. So that contributes to refreshing the skill or reducing skill cooldowns. And then plus 30% hazard protection. And then 4 pieces is indirect transmission. So your status effects now spread on kill to all enemies within 10 meters and refresh 50% of the duration. So if you apply the burn status effect to an enemy and then they die, it then once that initial enemy dies, then the status effect will spread to another enemy, provided that they are within 10 meters. And then it also refreshes 50% of the duration, so they're going to burn for a little bit longer. I would recommend that you have both the chest and the backpack for this particular build. So if we have a look at the chest talent, proliferation, that increases indirect transmission range from 10 to 15 meters and refreshes the percentage from 50 to 75. So that comes in handy if you've got some, a group of enemies. It's going to reach further. So instead of 10 meters, it's going to be 15. And it's also going to refresh the percentage from 50 to 75. So that's quite handy to have that as the chest talent. I would also recommend the backpack talent, which is System Aggravator. So that amplifies all damage you deal to status affected targets by 30%. So that includes damage from weapons and anything else as well as the burn that you're dealing as well. So that's a great damage amp to have. And then the other 2 pieces, you can mix and match. It doesn't really matter what you have. In this video, I'm running the mask and the knee pads. I haven't included any exotics in this build because you're a new player, you may not have any exotics. But if you do have the Vile mask, then that is 100% recommended for this build, as it increases the effectiveness of this whole build. So it doesn't really matter which other 2 pieces you run, whatever you have. Your minor attributes, you want to run status effects and maybe skill haste or skill damage. But definitely you want to go with status effects, as that really helps out, helps the effectiveness of this build. So in this build video, the 2 additional pieces I'm running are 1 piece of Electric and 1 piece of Wyvern. So the Electric gives us plus 10% status effects, and the Wyvern gives us plus 8% skill damage. Not, you might have something else you might like to run instead of that. It's quite customizable, but just make sure that you are running 6 skill tiers. Otherwise, you're really going to suffer with the effectiveness of this build. And I'm not saying that this is the strongest build at all. This is just what I'm running in this build video. You can see that I'm running in heroic, and I'm not great at running this build in heroic. It's a bit of a skill issue. It's by no means the build that is at fault here. It's definitely me. I'm not great at running this build, so it is viable in heroic. It's a lot of fun when you're playing in a group, but you can run it solo. If you want to, you just have to be fairly careful on how you play, where your placement is. Sometimes I can be really a bad shot with with the sticky launcher or the fire cam or something like that. So just bear that in mind. That it's not the build that's weak. It's me as the player. It's a bit of a skill issue there. So the 2 skills that you probably want to run, or are fire starter and with the chem launcher or the burn sticky bomb. You don't have to run both of these, but I would suggest running at least one. So the fire starter canister creates a cloud of explosive gas that can be ignited through explosives, weapon fire, etc. And that applies a burn status effect on the affected enemy. So basically you launch this at an enemy. It creates a cloud around them. There is a keyboard shortcut to ignite the cloud. On PC it's E. I'm not too sure what it is on other platforms. Or it can also be ignited via weapons fire. So if you launch this at an opponent and then they start firing at you, their weapons fire will ignite that canister and then they'll start burning. Now they will stop. They will stop then firing at you. So that's something to consider or take into account. The burn sticky bomb launches an adhesive payload that burns a target and creates a flame that can ignite nearby hostiles. It can be remote detonated to burn a large area. So basically you fire that and then you can ignite it on the PC. It's by pressing, well, it depends on, I think it's Q actually, yeah. And that's another great one. So they will start burning. If it kills them, then for both of these, for the chem launcher and the sticky bomb, for both these, once they're burning and they die, it will then spread to other enemies. Obviously, you don't have to use both those. You might want to use something as your second skill in place of that, like a turret or a drone or something like that. A turret or drone obviously aren't going to be contributing to the burning or anything like that, unless you throw out like the fire turret. I can't remember what that's called. But it just all depends on what situation you're in, how your playstyle is, what enemies you are fighting. Sometimes if you throw out a turret, it can help to distract the enemy away from you, and then allowing you to start shooting them with whatever weapon you have equipped or anything like that. So once again, it's quite customizable, depending on your playstyle or your preference or what situation you're in. But they're the 2 main ones that I would recommend. As far as weapons, it doesn't really matter what weapons you are using. It probably would help if you're using a weapon that synergizes with a skill build or something like that. So in the video, I'm using a combination of Mechanical Animal and Harmony. Mechanical Animal it has a talent of Future Perfection. So weapon kills grant +1 skill tier for 19 seconds, and that stacks up to 4 times. Weapon kills at skill tier 6 grant overcharge for 15 seconds. The overcharge cooldown is 90 seconds. Just bear in mind though that you do actually need to get a weapon kill for that. It can't be skill related. And then the Harmony Rifle has perfectly in sync. So hitting an enemy grants +20% skill damage for 5 seconds, and using a non-shield skill or damaging an enemy with a skill grants +20% weapon damage for 5 seconds. Damage increases are doubled while both buffs are active at the same time. So yeah, you pop up out of cover, you hit an enemy, you don't have to kill them, you just hit them. You're then getting +20% skill damage for 5 seconds. So if you've got an enemy that's kind of burning at this time, then that's going to come into play. And then so the second part there is if you have got an enemy burning, then you're getting +20% weapon damage. If you've got both, obviously if you've got both those going at the same time, you're getting +20% skill damage and +40% skill damage and +40% weapon damage if you've got both those going at the same time. So quite a formidable talent to have there on your chosen weapon. So if you've got Future Perfect or In Sync in your library, you can just recalibrate that talent onto whatever weapon you're more comfortable with or you feel more comfortable using, to take advantage of those talents. So there you go. That's the Fire Eclipse build with no exotics used. As I said, if you do have the Vial mask, then slip that in. That will increase the effectiveness of this build. But if not, just try and choose a couple of other pieces that you think might work. I've chosen I've chosen Wyvern and Electric for the status effect and the skill damage. So what are your thoughts? Are you a new player? Is this something that you would consider using? Do you think it's a helpful build for a new player? I think it is. It does take a bit of practice to get your aim down pat. There's quite a few times where I've killed myself with this build because I haven't aimed properly, and I've ended up in the middle of the cloud and then I've set myself on fire. So just be aware of that. The damage from the burning cloud of fire will actually kill you. So be mindful of that. So what are your thoughts? Leave a comment. I'd be keen to hear what your thoughts are. But that's all for now. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Until next time, agents, take care out there and stay safe.